Burn Notice at its best was a masterclass in balancing storytelling. It found that rare sweet spot between episodic and serialized television, giving viewers a satisfying mission of the week while slowly unraveling the bigger story of Michael Weston, a burned spy trying to claw his way back into the intelligence world. The early seasons understood contrast. The show had an overarching plot, but it never let that bog things down. One episode, Michael's chasing leads on the people who burned him. The next, he's helping a struggling mom shake off a gang that's been extorting her. The mix made the show feel alive, always moving forward, but never predictable. That balance is something a lot of shows struggle with. The X-Files had Monster of the Week episodes and government conspiracies, but it often felt like two different shows running side by side. Supernatural kept the Hunt of the Week format for a while, but later seasons leaned so hard into lore that the self-contained stories practically disappeared. Burn Notice handled this better than most, at least in the beginning. The tone also played a huge role in what made Burn Notice work. It wasn't afraid to be fun. The Miami setting gave it this bright, almost laid-back energy, even as the stakes were life or death. Michael's voiceovers broke down spy tactics like a DIY tutorial for espionage. The action was practical, clever, and, most importantly, interesting. The show had a style, and it knew what it was. But then, over time, Burn Notice started changing. Like a lot of shows in the late 2000 seconds and early 2010 seconds, it got caught up in the shift toward prestige TV. The industry was moving away from episodic storytelling and toward long, serialized narratives. Shows wanted to be taken seriously. They wanted to feel like movies. But the problem was, they were all trying to be movies in the exact same way. Burn Notice started to lean into that trend. The focus shifted away from the weekly missions and more toward a single, drawn-out narrative. The fun, self-contained elements became less frequent. The longer arcs felt stretched, sometimes past their breaking point. The action, once tight, creative, and full of personality, became more generic. The car chases, which used to be cleverly shot and well-paced, turned into bland showcases for Hyundai product placement. In the early seasons, the Elantra ads were almost charming, like the writers were in on the joke. By the later seasons, it was just sad. And this wasn't just a Burn Notice problem, it was TV as a whole. If you watched network or cable shows from this era, you started seeing the same guest stars pop up everywhere. Burt Reynolds, who played a washed-up spy on Burn Notice, also showed up in Archer, My Name is Earl, and American Dad. Patton Oswalt, he was on Burn Notice, Justified, Parks and Recreation, Agents of SH. LD, you name it. It felt like every show was pulling from the same playbook. This was the beginning of a kind of homogenization in TV. Shows weren't just influenced by prestige television, they were all trying to be prestige television. But in doing that, they lost the things that made them unique. The industry moved towards serialized storytelling not because it made every show better, but because it was the trend. The idea wasn't let's be the best version of this show, it was let's be more like Breaking Bad. And so Burn Notice, like so many other shows, started to crumble. By the time it ended, it wasn't the show it had started as. It wasn't bad, necessarily, but it had lost its spark. And that's something we've seen again and again. Because when nobody involved in a project seems to care about the story being told, you have to ask, why is it being told at all? TV used to exist to entertain people and to give people jobs. But these days, no one seems entertained, and Paul Rudd doesn't need another paycheck.